Like, I need to know about this.
Okay, this is definitely Declan. There is no way that this is not Declan.
First of all, and my name is Jen, not Jan. And if you're going to...
Sure, Jan.
Yeah, Jan. All right, so let's get into news. We could talk a little news.
It's our final subject of the night, guys.
We'll get over our focus on Florida.
And again, we do talk about DeSantis because he has to be talked about because people want to act like there's... honestly... I just have to say, the fact that Anna Eskamani is not running for governor,
it's sad.
Really, I kind of think that she was possibly the one wild card that could have knocked off
But you need
DeSantis.
To not digress on that.
No. But DeSantis is definitely doing everything in his capacity to do whatever is necessary to not only win re-election as governor, but to set basically lay the foundation for winning the presidency. And I think right now he's on his way. I really do.
Well, so this is what's going on. Well, he's done more than two things, but these two things,
it's just
back to back, right?
So the first thing that he's doing, you
see what I did there?
Yes, game face. And
that is such a game face.
So we're going to talk about the good thing that he is doing.
Yes.
And it is a good thing. Thank you, Democrats, for allowing Ron DeSantis to have a lane.
Seriously,
really
that's how pathetic our state is. With how pathetic our democratic infrastructure is. So the fact that he's actually pushing for Floridians to receive cheaper prescription drugs from Canada. Now, my understanding is that Biden is supporting this. And so, but this kind of action is somebody who's running for office.
100%.
That's what that is. And then you combine that. And now what these things are, granted, are a little bit authoritarian, but so we kind of like it when it serves us. And also saying that he will fine cruise lines in violation of the law if they're requiring passengers to be vaccinated. So, this is obviously going to be very contentious.
So he's basically doing two things with these two pieces of legislation. Yeah. What he's doing with the lowering of the prescription drug prices is he is catering 100% to the independent voter who may or may not be thinking, well, DeSantis is just a little too MAGA for my taste. But if he's willing to do this, I am going to vote for him because I don't trust the Democrats.
Right.
That is you got to give him credit for that.
And most voters are people that are not affiliated. Most voters are independent voters.
100%. And then you swing it over to this ridiculous need to say, I'm not going to make you wear a mask. This is red meat for the MAGA base. They love stuff like this, and it just gets them riled up. And you say, well, they're going to vote for DeSantis anyway, so why would he feel the need to do this? Why? Because a riled up base is a base that goes and knocks on doors, phone banks, text banks, does everything in their capacity to make sure that their candidate wins.
I also want to say that doesn't just appeal to MAGA people. That appeals to libertarians. And something that, kind of, to be honest, it appeals to me. So like when I look at something like that, that's the kind of thing I like. And I'm not a MAGA person. So
John is right. John Doherty, friend of the show. Listen, I have said it so many times and people want to pretend like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Nobody pretends that.
DeSantis is loved by his base. Loved.
Yep.
And that is not true for a lot of representatives around the country. He is considered a trailblazer by the populist right.
And the truth is he's not hated.
No.
And again, we had Scott.
I have a lot of issues. I got a lot of issues with him, but he is not Rick Scott.
He's not hated.
Rick Scott to me is a mass murderer.
Oh.
Like
he's a criminal and should be incarcerated. So, DeSantis is not hated. Yes, the Democrats want to get him out because they like blue no matter who, and they want to push him out, and they're going to hate him for whatever reason they hate him.
So,
but he's not. He doesn't get a visceral response.
So let's say Nikki Fried is the nominee. Nikki, you have pissed off John Morgan of all people because of your wishy-washiness on an issue like cannabis. What do you think is going to happen?
Although it's not like John Morgan has the high ground to take. So
not
I don't know what that.
But
that
John Morgan is. But John Morgan is definitely the type of person who, if you are trying to run for office, he's not a strings attached type of big donor. He is somebody who supports civil liberties and a variety of issues that most people do support. But if you are wishy-washy on those issues, he will call you out.
So who is a potential challenger for DeSantis? I don't think
there is anybody else.
I don't either.
I think that this is one of those circumstances where if Val Demings were to have run for governor, I do think that she could potentially have pulled it off.
But that's not what's happening.
No, she's deciding to run for senator. And now she's getting in the way of who was the best statewide candidate running,
against Marco Rubio, is Alan Ellison.
And he's good.
Alan Ellison is good.
If you haven't seen our podcast with him, highly recommend you
Please.
check it out.
We'll have him on again at some point.
Absolutely, we will.
Yeah, and so Val Demings getting into the senatorial race against Rubio really is like a negative because we have a good, strong progressive in that category. What we need is somebody good to run against DeSantis.
You don't need the best candidate to be the Senate candidate. In this state, it always leads with the gubernatorial race.
Yeah.
Always. You are putting the best candidate you have. And again, a lot of issues with Val Demings, but she's certainly better than Stephanie Murphy or some of the worst possible options. Charlie Crist, for goodness sake.
Okay, so that's another thing. I don't even want to talk about that.
There's a lot of people who actually think that because Nikki Fried is somewhat of a weak candidate, even though she's a statewide elected representative, that there's a real chance that Charlie Crist might become the nominee.
Great, let him be the nominee, and then he'll just lose to DeSantis.
Oh my God.
So
here's one thing I will guarantee, and I'll bet money on it. If Charlie Crist is the nominee, DeSantis will walk. He won't even be challenged. It'll be a 5.
It'll be ugly.
It'll be a 5-point margin.
It'll be a slaughter.
It'll be bad.
All right. When can we move on about DeSantis?
We are done with DeSantis. We are now moving on. We're going to end on a happy note.
Are you going to end with my happy news? Did you see how I did?
We are going to address what is just the classic Florida.
This is a Florida story. Thing. Well, the filthiness, the complete
filthiness, and of course, where else did it freaking happen but in Miami?
Oh yes. So a little town in Miami. There's a municipality within Miami called Medley. And this woman is a councilwoman in Medley. So even though it sounds like it's a small podunk, it's actually in Miami. Okay, so people understand that. This woman, see how I did that here? So I kind of combined it because she's a reptile. Florida bites and is full of reptiles, like this lady.
See, Santana Moss is a former NFL star.
And that gentleman is not the reptile to which I'm referring. I'm referring to the woman right there. Okay.
No, Santana Moss was a really solid wide receiver in the NFL for a long time. It all comes
down to sports for you.
Well, sports is everything. And that to me is a very important issue here because he has obviously done a lot of great work off the field. Not everybody does. But he happens to be one of them.
Big foundation. He has a big charity foundation.
Yeah, we do have a big charity foundation. And the lady's name, forgive me for, I got to freaking look this up now.
This lady right here.
Yes. I got to get her name. She's not an elected official, or at least she's not anymore.
No, she was, though. She was the council person. She was the council person, and she was using her connection to his charity and the gifts from his charity. And she was giving those gifts to get votes. She was using the gifts from his charity that she had access to.
Her name is Lily Stefano, and she would be kind of like a bootlicker.
Well, here's the thing. She's really more Florida bites and is full of reptiles category kind of person because it's very reptilian what she did and very Florida reptilian, which is why I kind of just combined that today with Focus on Florida because we were having two guests.
The worst part, the worst part about this story, as I read in the Miami Herald, is the fact that she just has like this, it's not that big of a deal. I totally wasn't trying to do what you think I was trying to do. No, you were trying to do that. It's pretty freaking obvious what you were doing.
She was using gifts from a private charity foundation and giving them to voters to vote for her. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
If we can't listen, I don't think Trump is going to go down the way that people think he's going to go down, but I really think there is substantial evidence to take down Matt Gaetz. And if he does not go down,
why are we over at Matt Gaetz?
The reason we're over at him is because it's just another example of how so many of people in politics never pay the price. They never pay the price.
Certainly not the people, usually not the people that are like Matt Gaetz, that are from wealthy, privileged political families, almost like a dynasty. Those people never really seem to pay for anything. Women like this, I don't know, because someone might be willing to throw her under a bus. I'm not sure.
I'm going to answer this question for John really quick. In an era of American baseball, to start with, that I would recommend that you check out. That's a very good question. I would definitely say, and the great thing about baseball is that there's always parity. When the Yankees were winning in the mid-90s.
By parity, Parity, not Parody.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Just checking. It's not like a who's on first thing.
Who is on first?
Parody.
Well, there you go. And I would definitely say that in terms of era of baseball that was highly, highly competitive, you could definitely look to the 80s and even the early 90s. And then, of course, I would definitely say the 2000s in particular. There's a lot
1955 Brooklyn Dodgers.
The 1955 Brooklyn Dodgers are definitely one of the most important teams in baseball history because them bums became next year.
And it was Jackie Robinson.
That is correct. And well, it's not just
I know
Sandy.
things.
The 55 Brooklyn Dodgers had a who's who. They had Don Zimmer. They had Sandy Koufax. They had Duke Snider. They had Jackie Robinson. They had Pee Wee Reese. Pee Wee Reese, one of the most unheralded heroes in American history, because he is the person that really allowed Jackie Robinson to be accepted. He did something in, I think it was Cincinnati.
Do you see how all you have to do is ask this man a sports question, and now we're off on a tangent? Can we get to the happy news?
Well, he put his arm around Jackie in full view of everybody, and
Lou came up.
That's when it became, well, white power's here, but
white power. She's white power. But the thing, nobody is about white power like Lou. White power. She's just the whitest dog I've ever seen. But
the good news is
she comes up when she knows we're wrapping up.
Yes, and we have a happy story that we can.
This pleases me. I try to put little animal stories on them. Have you noticed I try to add that, like when we did Panthers last
John,
week?
you will if you want to read a great history story, read up on the 1955 Brooklyn Dodgers.
And who's the one who said that? Thank you.
She'll have a lot of fun with that.
Do you see that? It's like rubbing off on me. Actually, I knew about that from somebody else. So turtles, very exciting news.
Yes.
A rare endangered sea turtle was found on a Central Florida beach laying eggs, which is very exciting.
Very important.
And I'm going to look up the name. I remember thinking it wasn't a name that meant anything. It was like rare green sea turtle or something. Like it wasn't something that I could say, oh, and it's this special kind of turtle.
One of the things that we do worry about so much when it comes to obviously climate change here in Florida is
we're killing our critters.
Oh,
we're killing our critters. So when I see something that we're seeing new growth, new species, and yet it's still somewhat dampened by the fact that I know that they're living in plastic polluted water, and that if you were to do a biopsy of them, you would probably find plastic. So, I mean, it's not great, but I do love the idea that we're still having natural wildlife in Florida. It's nice to see. And the fact that there is an unusually or uncommonly seen species of sea turtle pleases me.
Yeah.
And so that's good. And we do, you know what? For the most part, Florida takes its sea turtles fairly seriously. Yeah. For the most part, our coasts, our beaches, and our municipalities do the best that they can to protect our sea turtles. There's restrictions on lighting. There's restrictions on the beaches.
And I also think that you've got a lot of people that really care, and that's important. I think that
I really care.
There's
save the sea turtles, man.
I think a lot of people in the state really do care about the environment. It's just that big agribusiness and all that in between. It dominates our state legislature. And again, everyone points the finger at Republicans. You can point their finger at Republican legislators. I guarantee you that you've made friends with a lot of Republicans.
I don't have a problem with that.
But again, we have the same issue here. We feel like we're going to elect somebody that's going to work on our behalf. I guarantee you Republican voters have the same problem. They think that what they're electing is somebody who's actually fighting for them. And as it turns out, no, they're fighting for their corporate interests. That's what they're fighting for. So there are a lot of ways that we can bring these coalitions together, and we do have to cross-pollinate. Very, very important.
It's a Kemp's Ridley sea turtle. Kemp with a K. Kemp 'S Ridley sea turtle.
And they are nesting and growing.
Also called the Atlantic Ridley sea turtle, are the rarest species of sea turtle and is the world's most endangered species of sea turtles. And we just have evidence of one laying eggs on our beach. So that pleases me. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.